So I thought this week I would videotape Lexi's owner, Marianne, on Lexi, because we often do a combination of I do some training sessions and lessons with Marianne. So this is Marianne really beginning to adjust her coordination in time with Lexi and find that little point of pressure, the point of balance, somewhere under the 4 quadrants of the saddle, and keeping her weight in the right place at the right time. Lexi's really at a stage where she's pulling together both her kind of left to right balance and her front to back balance. And there's moments of beautiful strides intermingled with a boatload of awkwardness. And so what happens is, as the coordination is changing in a very real way, there's just a lot of instability that comes through in the process of changing coordination. And this is when the rides need to be particularly quiet, particularly slow. With Lexi, we finally added some rein contact. Marianne typically rides her in a halter with the reins because Lexi's habit was to overcurl the neck so drastically and get behind the bit that we found it was easier to work with the reins without a bit in her mouth at all for now. And this is just the beginning of Lexi actually seeking the rein contact as she's putting together both her weight distribution left to right and starting to get weight off the forehand, elevating her own front end by carrying her weight more up and back through the barrel and the hindquarters. She had very weak hindquarters and a hard time engaging. So this is really the beginning of Lexi starting to get her front back balance. And that little clunk, that misstep with her shoulder, is a release of years of tension throughout the thoracic sling, the neck, the upper back. So Marianne's doing a really good job. All she's focused on is trying to keep her weight over that bubble of pressure. And Lexi's bubble of pressure now is very unpredictable because she's unstuck from her old habits, but she's struggling to find the coordination of balance and hold it. And she doesn't have the muscular support to hold it. So riding her right now has been very helpful, and just patiently working through all the errors, all the changes of muscle tone, all the missteps with the legs. And that's what I mean by the awkward phase. As coordination is changing, it just sort of gets really unstable before it starts to all come together. And I'm glad we're doing this video as her training video, because this is what we've been doing mostly, is Marianne learning to balance Lexi as her main rider. And then I step in and work with Lexi now and again as a trainer. And this is a better view than my Pivo because I can get up close, I can just talk directly into the phone, and we can see a little bit more between the horse and rider and really watch Lexi's balance come and go. And it comes and goes quickly. So like there, she kind of has a nice balance going on, and then she'll lose it. And then she'll get a few good steps, and then she'll lose it. And even going up and down this slight incline in my arena is a challenge for her. So sometimes she slows way down and has to think about her steps. Sometimes she halts. But what I'm noticing in Lexi, especially when I'm the observer on the ground, is sometimes her front legs start to look very light, very unloaded, and then she has a shoulder clunk. And the hiking up of the hind legs is her kind of feeling the changes through all of her leg joints. There's another shoulder clunk. She's been doing that a lot lately. And we're being very careful. We're refraining from doing any trot or canter work right now until she starts to stabilize this change in her coordination and can kind of hold her balance with less fluctuations in and out of it. Because when horses are going through a change of coordination, that's when they're most likely to have a misstep or trip or kind of make a mistake where they could potentially throw our weight in the same direction and potentially actually fall over. So if we add speed to the mix, that can just be a little unsafe when they're going through the awkward phase. But if we patiently keep working at the walk, the coordination changes at any speed. So it doesn't matter if we just need to err on the side of safety and keep things between walk and halt rather than adding the trot this week. Yeah, and Marianne's doing a fantastic job. Even though you can see her move a little bit, there's a little bit of timing she's refining right now. Marianne's torso is getting more and more stable and sort of moving around less and less. And that's what tells me she's starting to get her weight specifically in the right place at the right time. While Lexi's little bubble of pressure, her point of balance, is changing a lot right now in unpredictable ways. It could be shifting to any quadrant of the saddle. It could be shifting forward or back, left or right. It's probably changing location with every change of direction. That's very typical. And what that tells us is the skeletal coordination is changing, the muscle tone and use is changing, and her internal body weight distribution is changing. All of those things are interconnected, and they're all changing at the same time, which is why we go through and horses go through what we call the awkward phase. It's just a little bit of a challenging time when you're reconfiguring where your legs go and which muscles you use to move. And it was interesting that when we started this lesson, Lexi was pretty wobbly, and so I had Marianne take up a light rein contact, and Lexi is really just has a beautiful connection through the reins to Marianne, because that's helping her figure out how to change her coordination. And Lexi was always one that if you touched the reins, she just overcurled her neck and got behind the bit and started holding in the neck. And the reason the rein contact is the most recent addition is because until the horse's back and hindquarters are stable, all of that tightness in her neck and thoracic sling and front end really couldn't lengthen and get that sensation of reaching forward to the bit and taking the reins. So even though she doesn't have a bit in her mouth, she's using the rein contact in a classically correct way, but that was the final result after we spent quite a bit of time on very loose reins, helping Lexi stabilize the back and the hindquarter. And only as she's getting closer and closer to the coordination of basic balance, which is equalizing the weight left to right as well as front to back, that's when she really started to have that elusive, lovely rein contact that so many people want to start with. But it's really kind of the final result of stabilizing the spine and the pelvis, changing muscle use, and the horse gaining some self-control over body weight distribution, left to right and front to back. And all of these little clunks you can see with her front legs is all the chronic tightness through her thoracic sling changing and letting go. Because that exchange rate of using the muscles for stability into using the skeleton for stability happens at exactly the same rate in real time. So all of a sudden there's a clunk because the back and hindquarters are more stable. That could resist some of the body weight overloading the front legs. That alleviates the contraction throughout the thoracic sling, all around the shoulders and the front legs, and then clunk, the leg repositions in a sudden way. That happens all the time. And with Lexi, it's been happening a lot every ride and more recently. So asking her for speed at this point is a little unsafe until her body restabilizes in this better coordination. And you can see it's just sort of coming and going. She gets some really good strides, then she loses it. Then she gets warmer, and then she gets colder, and then she nails it, and then she loses it. So right here, she's lost that kind of lovely coordination. When we see her lengthen her neck, but not fall into long and low. Sometimes her shoulder clunks when she does that, and we have to start all over, right? So like there, where she was pushing on the bit and falling forward, Marianne's allowing it just to give her a little muscle relief, right? And in that moment, Lexi just let the weight fall back to the front legs, but it's not the worst thing in the world for now, right? When she starts to use her back and hindquarters again, the neck will lengthen with a light rein contact, but the horse won't pull on the reins or try to go to long and low because she's got more control over her own body weight back to front. Yeah, so I'm going to keep this video short, but I thought this was an interesting training video to look at Lexi's development with her owner and how the two of them are kind of figuring out. Marianne's got better control over her weight distribution and stability and balance. And that's what has the biggest single impact on the horse's ability to change coordination or get control over their own body weight distribution. And then all the muscle use changes and the leg movement changes and the head and neck position changes as a result, not the means to it. It's the end result of getting the other stuff kind of pulled together and working. That's pretty good. Yeah. And there's some very nice steps in the right direction. Almost there. Yep. And then a little bit of downhill slope kind of challenges Lexi, so she goes a little slower, trying to keep control over her body weight, keep her skeletal stability, with just the smallest challenge of a downhill incline. Yeah, then she nails it. Oh, lost it. Not quite there, but very close. Let's see if she goes up the incline a little, if that's where she can pull it together. Yeah, that's a little better once she pushes up the hill just a little. But then she's going to stop or she's going to clunk and we start all over. So that's kind of what this process looks like of changing coordination. Very slow, very quiet, not easy to do, takes a lot of focus, but the end result, you come out with a healthier horse that's more athletic once they get the hang of it. And Lexi at 20 had a long time of working with her back dropped, her pelvis disengaged, and holding through her neck. So it's a big deal, but it sort of shows you that even an older horse is really happy and willing to move their coordination towards something that's more ideal and more balanced. And it's what keeps horses healthy into their ripe old age. So good job, Marianne.